What is up, my Lorcana Goons, and welcome back to the Lorcana Goons channel. You're watching the Friday Weekly Market Watch with Zach Stone and I as we go over the meta trends, card prices, and Lorcana news. I want to start off with the first chapter boxes because since last week they've been going up a little in price. Love to see it. The lowest verified now is going to be 339 by Eileen Cards right there. A couple non-verified sellers have it for a similar price, but it's now selling for 340 on TCG Player. That's going to be the retail price. So maybe around 330 is or 300 is the lowest you're going to find it now. But yeah, like I was saying last Market Watch, I would like to hope that first chapter is probably not going to be like seen as much maybe like on the retail shelves anymore, but who knows. Zach, how are you feeling about first chapter?
There is not a confirmed discontinuation. They never said they're going to stop printing this set. I'm curious to see if there's any going to be at the prize wall at the Continentals in the next couple weeks. But I think the first chapter is definitely a good buy. I know a lot of people were looking for good Christmas gifts, and some people were fortunate enough to share that they got some first chapter product. So yeah, that might be a reason why some of these prices are more higher today. Some of them that were like 310, 320, probably getting bought up. So I
Yeah.
think it's a good set still, has a lot of the
Mhm.
important staples from it, and we still don't have a ban list. So we don't know exactly if which set's going to survive if once they do one.
Yeah, right. I'm hoping it's not a rotation. I would like to think it's more of a ban list if they do something like that. But I also feel like we don't use too many cards from the first chapter. If anything, I feel like some of the first chapter Enchanteds really are the chase cards rather than the foil staples. Like the Stitch Carefree Surfer. This card continues to bounce off $300 and kind of shoot back up a little bit. So lowest verified is now 314 by Case Hit Collectibles, but there are some non-verified sellers that have it for around $300, like Ed's Toy Barn here, 288 with $1.50 shipping if you want to get a Carefree Surfer Stitch. But yeah, trying to find it for less than 300 or around that 250 mark is probably not going to be anytime soon anymore. The lowest verified was $320 almost already, and we can see in December plenty of sales happening for around 299, 296, and December 3rd 268. That's a really good number right there. I think if you got it for 268, especially if you want them now, I'd probably gonna have to pay more than 300 for the Carefree Surfer Stitch, which does come out in the first chapter. This is one of the most expensive first chapter Enchanted rares, alongside maybe Elsa and Tinkerbell and Belle Strange but Special. But yeah, Carefree Surfer Stitch, a fan favorite. Another Enchanted going up in price this week. Sisu, the Empowered sibling, a very important card this meta, I think, mainly because a lot of people are playing Emerald decks. The Emerald Purple deck seems like a menace. Amber Steel has a lot of two strength or lower characters. Emerald Steel does. So yeah, I think when you're playing a red blue strategy, you kind of want to ramp into this card. I think if you're playing Ruby Amethyst, you also might want to shift into this card. It's no wonder why it's selling for almost $200 now. 189 with $1.27 shipping. By Bobby MTG Pokey. So around 190, and then after that, World Class Singles has it for 195 with shipping included. They have four of them. If you're playing four Sisu in your deck, and get them all from that one seller. But look at this, Zach. These were selling for around 130. The 128 right here earlier in the month. 133 on December itself. 118 on December 11th. Wow. So now they're getting close to $200. What do you think?
I think that there's an interesting point here to make. There is only 9 available copies on the market currently today. So that that can be depleted very soon. And the price of this card has seen higher prices, of course, but I think what is important to notice is that the amount of copies and listings available, like Kevin did say, you could buy four from one seller. The rest of them you're buying from different sellers. So you have to keep in mind that there is some tournaments that are coming up very shortly, and it's important to make sure you get your cards in time. So order accordingly. I would suggest buying cards as soon as today, just to make sure you get your cards within the next week if you plan on playing to the Continentals.
Yeah, even set champs start in January, I believe. So, you're gonna be able to, use your shiny cards at your set championships, or maybe even your full art not shiny cards, like the Cinderella Stouthearted, which is a enchanted rare. It has, in a sense, it has a full art. It's a full art card that you can get at the DLCs. Non-foil though, these were selling for closer to $115 in October, November, and they've since come down in price a little bit. Lowest verified is now $90 by Arcanic Cards. Right here, Pro Play Games also has them for 8.90, 89 and 98 with shipping included. And it kind of sticks around that $90 price right there. So if you want to pick up a Cinderella Stouthearted, a full art promo from the DLCs, right now they're cheaper in price than, in my opinion, what they've ever been, right? Yeah, it feels like they've always been more than $100. So if you want to get it for 90 bucks, it's looking like they're available right now. But I would like to see more Lorcana full art cards that are not necessarily this expensive. I'm really excited for that new Lilo we're gonna get, the Escape Artist. That's gonna have an alternate art in the new product they're releasing next year. So I'm excited for that, and it would be really cool if you'd be able to pull some of these cards in the booster packs. Don't you think, Zach? At least that's my opinion. I feel like sometimes when I've seen kids open up packs, especially even when working that event with Ravensburger, it's a little lackluster when they open up a cold foil, especially if it's not like a cold foil like a Cinder, a princess that they know or something, or a main character, right? I don't know. Cold foils are cool, but they don't really pop out at you. They don't shine at you. They don't really have texture. Only the legendaries have texture, right? So I would like to see more full art stuff available in the game. What do you think?
There is a thought there that they can do something like that. Maybe even include them in more gift sets and create like a pool of ones you can get from a gift set. Maybe not guaranteed the exact one. Maybe it's just randomized, and some have better pull rates than others. I'd like if they do something like that. If they include it in the pack, I think it would change the structure and dynamic. And I think they're going to stick to the cold foil scheme, which I like personally. I like that cards can be either normal or foil. And speaking of which, we got some good foils that we're going to talk about with you right now. And Merlin Goat is seeing a increase in not only play with Amethyst Emerald, Amethyst Steel, and Rubiam decks piloting 4 copies of this card, and it's looking like the lowest listed is $8.50 with $1.50 shipping. I know sales have been quite sporadic, but this card immediately can jump up between anywhere from $8 to $10, all the way up to 15 for more verified sellers. So, Kevin, what do you have your foil goats yet?
I don't. I don't. I was hesitant picking them up at a little less than $10, and now I regret it because they're never gonna go back down. At least for the time being, they might not go back down, right? Unless they somehow decide like they're gonna rotate out Rise of the Floodborn or something. But it doesn't seem like it. I feel like Goat's gonna be here to stay. Yeah, should have gotten them a while ago when they were sitting at around $6, $7, but now we're gonna have to pay closer to 10, even 15. If you want to get them now before they hit 15, like Zach was saying, there's plenty of listings right here from non-verified sellers. But at the bottom of the page with verified sellers, you start to hit $15 already for your cold foil go. A good card that's kind of cheap right now. That is a cold foil sale. The Azurite Sea. Sale the Azurite Sea was selling closer to $9, $10 in the beginning of the format when the set first came out, and now you can find them for as cheap as $4.80 with $1.27 shipping by the Dojo CFL. Check that out. So around $5 to $6 almost after shipping is where you're gonna have to pay for a cold foil, but you can also get them from some cheaper vendors here like Cajun's Card Cash for $3.80 with $1.27 shipping, or some non-verified sellers for the same price, right? So very close to a $5 cold foil. I think that's a decent price. John Silverstern, Captain Zach. You want to talk about this one, right?
Yeah, no, this is just a card that I'm not necessarily sure if it's going to see a lot of play, but I like cheap legendaries from the newest set, and I do want to give a shout out to those that are building their collections and are, having a hard time to find cards, because I think this is an excellent place to pick up some copies that, seem to exist all over the market. We kind of go over cards that have like less listings than others, and this one seems to have an abundance amount of listings. So there, shout outs to anybody that's trying to build their collections and missing any pieces, just to remind them that this is probably a good time to pick up some of the cards that are more on the cheaper end if you've been missing them from your collection.
Yeah, this is a $5 cold foil legendary. It's super cheap, and then but there's so many and nobody plays this card, right? So $4 even $4 with $1.27 shipping by the Poke Room. So if you believe in cards like these, I think Yzma is also up there with a card like that, Zach. I really like the purple Yzma, the new one from the Azurite Sea, and I think people might be sleeping on that card a little bit. It might be really good in the future. It kind of reminds me of Finders Keepers and Doc almost at the same time, you know. But yeah, it's a very strong card, and I think this John Silver has some playability too. It's just the meta's not as explored, but can't wait for set champs. I might try and hit a set champs tournament or two depending if I have enough time or not. We'll see what happens. But check out the Maui Half Shark. Couple listings here if you want to get some discounts from some non-verified sellers. AFR collection $15 with $5 shipping. They're non-verified though. Lowest verified is going to be $25 still. 24.95 with a dollar shipping by Elite Trainer cards right there. Maui Shark pretty good in the format, right, Zach?
Well, yes, I think this card is very much the reason why Red Blue is probably the best deck in format right now.
Mm.
To see it kind of go down to this price is something that I feel like people should, more or less buy right now. This card is a little too cheap, in my honest opinion, for how oppressive it can be. And I know a lot of people that are playing like four copies in their deck and two, even three Pirates Life now. Some are even considering just playing more Let It Goes, which I kind of understand the concept of. But yeah, this card just tells your opponent you can't quest. It's almost like a Tinkerbell Giant Fairy, and the decisions that people have to make when facing down this card or even building their decks to consider this card whenever it comes down. How will they out it?
Yeah, it's really hard, especially when they play these back to back on you. Because I'll play Tremaine, or even if you're playing stuff like Dragonfire, Let It Go. You use it on the first Maui Shark, and then like 2 turns later, your opponent drops another Maui Shark. And if they're playing red blue, maybe they're playing Vitalisphere, so that Maui Shark's gonna get instant value on you. It's a very good card. It gives red blue multiple ways to win, and it also gives other decks the ability to play games differently too. I feel like this isn't a card you only use in red blue. I just, right now it feels like a lot of people are just kind of sticking to like one. Essentially, we're sticking to what we know. We've seen the deck lists, we've seen YouTube videos, we've seen the European Continental, so people are definitely kind of refining those strategies. And it looks like Maui Sharks really kind of sticking to that red blue strategy. Maybe there's a world you play it in red purple as well, though, like that red purple burn deck, right? But yeah, like you said, Zach, $20 right now, that's a pretty good price in my opinion. Rapunzel, gifted with healing, still selling for $40+ for the non-foil. This card just never goes down in price. It never does. 43.99 by TCG Southside, ready for you. Lowest verified for a Rapunzel. And if you're playing any yellow deck, you probably want to play 4 copies of Rapunzel. That's no wonder why the lowest verified for the cold foil is $65 with 89 cents and a dollar shipping. After that, it goes to $69. So there's some good deals right here. These are $65, and the lowest, a second lowest verified is already $70. Save like $5 right there, right? And they've been kind of coming down in price, not too bad. Slowly creeping back up to that $70 mark though. So maybe you want to get Rapunzels and some of these other legendaries right now while the prices are cheap near the end of the year. Personally, Rapunzel's a great card in every yellow deck. Like every yellow deck, I think probably wants to play Rapunzel. Maybe even if you're playing like yellow purple sometimes, right? How do you feel, Zach? You're a yellow enjoyer.
Well, yeah, this card is definitely a card people have to play around, and I think you and I both like to call cards like this skill checks. And it kind of implies that if you're going to consider cards to play around, this is one of the cards to play around if you can. Some cards you can't play around, but some cards you can, and this is one of the most important cards. Being able to draw 3 cards and healing up a character and healing up a Daisy Duck is definitely something that I like to do with my Amber Steel deck. $12 cold foils, which I'd like to always think that the normal price is around $4 to $5, and this is more than double. And that means it's pretty healthy. You're finding enough people willing to pay up to 12, even $13 for some copies, and there's not too many of them that have multiple. You have to kind of find like even $15 copies, I think, to find multiple cards coming from one seller. And so, Kevin, I know you. I know you've not really played with Daisy Duck before, but what's it like playing against?
Very oppressive. This card definitely is a power card. I think it's the best one drop in. No, it's the second best one drop in the game. I think Cinderella Ballroom Sensation is the best one cost character in the game. But this is probably the second best one cost character in the game. I think having a 1/4 stat line is really good. Her ability to give your opponent a character only triggers when she quests. So what I've learned is that this character can also challenge and get really good value, especially if you are playing certain strategies, like Rapunzel. You can just bump into characters. When playing Amber Steel, there's times where you play Daisy, you don't quest, but instead you're just using your Daisy to swing into Maleficents, Lilos, or other just opposing aggressive characters. So that 4 willpower is really strong for a one cost character, right? And then if you do decide, hey, I want to take an aggro route, your opponent plays a Daisy, you better have an out to that Daisy. And if they play another Daisy after that, oh man, like it's usually not gonna go in your favor, right? It's not unstoppable. There's a reason why Hyper Aggro is not like the best deck of the format, but I think like the combination of yellow cards like Rapunzel and Daisy and Ariel potentially, like they give a lot of decks like really strong strategies. There is a green yellow deck that I really like, Zach. That I feel like is a little bit unexplored. And I think it does take advantage of Daisy and the ability to curve nicely into some really heavy questers from turns like 1 through 5, right? And then the best part about Daisy, obviously, is, or the worst part, I guess, for me, since I'm like a Ruby Am player, is when they Daisy you and you reveal the top card and it's a Be Prepared or it's a Brawl, because not only does that card not go to your hand, it goes to the bottom of the deck. So you're not gonna, it's one less out to Daisy that you're probably gonna see, right? So it's a very frustrating card to do. I think it's a very good. I think if you are playing an aggressive strategy, I know, or if you're teaching like a newer player how to play the game, I think Daisy Duck goes a long way. I love seeing young or new players pick up an aggro deck and they just quest with Daisy and gets a 20 faster. Some more cold foils I wanted to talk about. Friends on the other side. Check this out. Going down a little bit in price, still around $4 to $5. Tampa Bay TCG has the lowest verified, $3.99 with $1.27 shipping. After that, it's $5.49, shipping included. It's a really good cold foil. It's a common. So I think most common cold foils stick around this like $5 price range. But I think it's one of the best cards in the game. It lets you draw 2 cards, and we were talking about the Merlin Goat. It's very popular in Ruby Amethyst and Amethyst Emerald, and I think Friends on the other side is up there too. I don't think every Emerald Amethyst deck plays Friends on the other side. I don't, if anything, I don't even know if most of them do. I think a lot of those decks play mostly characters, but it's still a very strong card in my opinion, right?
Definitely, and Cold Foil Friends are, I think, going to be a long-standing staple for most Amethyst decks. If we see draw power cards like Genie and Rabbit get put on a ban list, then this card is still just going to be an auto include, and we might even see the Maleficent from set one come back into some decks too, which I think is interesting to talk about. But yeah, this is a staple from set one, and it's been harder to kind of find and even hang on to these. I know I just got rid of some the other day, but just remember that a lot of these cards are getting picked up off the market and being collected, so that you don't really find them again. And cold foil Hirams, even normal Hirams, I just don't have anymore at the booth,
Well,
Kevin. But
okay.
these cold foils are like $16, and it's incredible to see like the amount of listings compared to some other cards. But look, like your first verified seller goes up to 1726, and they only have one, and you're almost going to spend $20 a copy just to get your four. So yeah, this is a very popular card. Like I said, red blue might be the best deck in format. Kevin, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that actually. That's a very bold statement, red blue being the best deck of the format. A lot of people would disagree with you. A lot of people would disagree with that. I think it's a very strong deck. I think it also depends. Are we talking about best of three or a 2 game format? Does that imply that that's going to be the best pick for people to use at the deals at the Continentals? Maybe not. Maybe. I do think that red blue has the best cards in the game. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I think red blue has some of the best cards in the game. However, I truly think that the amethyst color is the strongest color in the game. So I do think it outweighs a little bit in my opinion. But yeah, cold foil flavor sham is a very strong staple in the meta. This came out in set two. We're getting to a point where it's been over a year. Has it been a year since Floodborne came out? Yeah, right. Because Floodborne, or almost, yeah, Floodborne came out like in November or something. Yeah, so it's been a year
Mm-hmm.
already. Since Floodborne came out, that's the second set, and we haven't gotten any announcements about like if they're gonna stop printing for these sets, if we're doing ban lists or anything. Quite frankly, we need more announcements for DLCs. We're about to be in January, and they haven't said what's coming in 2025 for Lorcana. I don't know about you, Zach, but for at least for me, for sure, business has slowed down a little bit in like terms of like how much Lorcana is being sold, at least at my area. And in general, I feel like the views are a little bit down compared to what it was in like September, November, October time frame. And I think a lot of it has to do with like there's no DLCs. If you're, unless you're going to Continentals, then you're probably not super interested in Continentals. Let's be real. Like if you're not there, it's kind of hard to get people to really be into it and want to watch it from their home. And yeah, like I said, Set Champs is in January, but the Set Champs isn't as hyped as it used to be, right? I don't know, but I would like to see a little bit more. I would like to see a little bit more. I feel like a lot of the reason why the card prices are coming down right now is because there isn't a lot going on in Lorcana. So if you do want to pick up some of these cards, Flavor Shine was like $25 for the cold foil right now. Like we were saying, some non-verifieds for 16 and some verifieds for $17, right? But Zach, how are you feeling about the state of Lorcana right now going into next year?
Um, so I still feel really good about it just because it's still backed up by an incredible IP. But we are going to go into a downswing, so I'm kind of proud of our local LGSs for announcing some cool tournaments coming up. And I think that's what's going to carry a lot of the weight in Lorcana is how often people are willing to travel and go to these stores and play in these tournaments because that's what's going to drive the demand of the game. But I feel you, Kevin. I feel you that like it's a little bit of a downswing right now. But that doesn't mean that the game is dying. That just means that people are, content with what they have in the moment. And I haven't seen a lot of people like dump it off and sell a lot of their cards. Like some cards have gone down, but a lot of cards are holding their value in more ways than one. And Alice Savi Sailor is a cold foil that is it's more stable. It's definitely been more at a higher price point and has gone down, but saw a little bit of a resurgence because of some Sapphire Steel enthusiasts, and we got copies today around anywhere from 7, 8 to close to $9. And Kevin, when you have to play against this card, are you just hoping that they don't have something to protect it like a bodyguard Pluto?
Yeah, this whenever I'm playing against certain strategies, so it's crazy right now in Lorcana, right? Because if your opponent inks a blue card and they play a steel card, you have to ask yourself, are they playing Whole New World? Are they playing this version with like Alice Savvy Sailor? And yeah, the card price for the cold foil did come down a lot from like 12 to like $7, but or like even like lower like $5, $6, but it's been going up a little bit. I've been seeing some Sapphire Steel players use this in their deck. Whenever I see this type of strategy, I tend to want a hard mulligan for crabs, foxes. It's depending on what you're playing, and how you're playing your deck. Maybe you want to make sure you're playing stuff like Captain Hook. Captain Hook can have Challenger +3, and even though this Alice has 4 willpower, you might want to be able to have just outs to like Zach said, to the combos of Alice plus Pluto Guard Dog or something. So yeah, whenever they're using these type of strategies, I tend to tell myself I need to have as many characters on the board as possible. Depending on what deck you're playing, you might want to kind of adjust your game plan like that. Because that's the thing about Lorcana. At least playing Rubiam or actually every deck, right? You have like a very like consistent strategy of like turn one, I'm gonna play Chernabog. Turn two, I'm gonna play Flynn. Turn three, I'm gonna play Sisu. But what happens when you don't draw those cards? What happens when your opponent has a certain setup and you're going second and you can't really necessarily afford to go for that line? You want to have other strategies in your deck. You want to have other like options available. I think personally, one of my favorite plays in the game right now is turn one, a one cost character. Turn two, play two one cost characters. And depending on what those characters are, they can contest an early board. So when your opponent does drop an Alice like this, you're gonna have a lot of characters on the board, I think, to contest like whatever they're giving ward to for the most part, or even just to get rid of this Alice on board, right? I want to talk about Microbots today. Microbots is an uncommon card that sells for around 50 cents almost. Lowest verified is 32 cents with the extra shipping cost, but it immediately jumps to 45, 49, 57, and people only list like one of these. These sell a lot for whatever reason. These sell a lot on TCG Player, and the cold foils are basically the same price, guys. Look at this. Oh, actually, scratch that. They're not. Cold foils, there's only one listing for 50 cents, and then it immediately jumps to 90 cents by Wild Card Cyclone. Shout out you guys. Then it's $1 plus shipping. So this is about a $2 cold foil, and a an uncommon is about like $1 or 50 cents. So a lot of people ask for this card, and it's a card that lets you play, lets you break the rules of the game. You can play any amount of microbots in your deck. You could realistically go to locals and show up with 60 microbots in your deck, and that's perfectly. You're not going to win anything, but that's perfectly. I'm okay with the rules, right, Zach?
Yes, I'm curious to see if anybody is actually going to play a Microbot deck, but this is an interesting card, of course. Being able to play them for free with the yokai, I think is what inspires a lot of people to think that there's OTKs. And we know we did get a glimpse of it at Seattle. Someone did have like a developer had like a deck built like that, which was interesting, but we don't know how well it can compete in a very aggressive meta. What helps an aggressive meta is removal actions and strength of the raging fire cold foils are something to consider right now because the normal ones are like almost $9. We're looking at a cold foil price being about 11 plus $1.50 shipping, but they can get as high up to 15. So it's about double from what I know. And this is a consideration I think because this is a card that's still a staple in almost all like Amber Steel decks, and pretty much in the Green Steel discard, you're still playing 4 copies of this. So very good
Hmm.
removal, very good for most of the meta. Can even take out Maui Sharks if you have enough of a character board. But yeah, your normal copies are anywhere between like 6, 7 to like $10 for unverifieds,
Yeah.
and you don't even get the verified seller to the next page, which I think is kind of funny. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, we're
11.
looking at like
Yeah, close to.
$11. Yeah, this is a very hard card to find right now.
Yeah, I run out of them very frequently. No matter what steel deck you're playing, whether it's Amethyst steel, Amber steel, maybe even Sapphire steel, you're probably playing this card. It's one of the few cards that can, I guess, technically deal infinite damage because there's no rules in Lorcana about how many characters you can have in play, and the strength just deals damage equal to that concept, right? So imagine they make a card in Lorcana that's like, oh, this card counts as 10 characters for whatever reason. Strength of Raging Fire just deals that much. So there could be some interesting rules with this card in the future too. I like the design of this card. It's very strong. It's very fair. It's a song. It's inkable. And no surprise there in why it's anywhere from $6 to $12 or $11 for a non foil, and $15 to almost $16 for a gold foil. Look at this. Be prepared. Cheap today. I like to see it. Lowest verified is 673 with $1.27 shipping. Around $7 to $8 for your B preps, my goons today. Next verified is Lorcana 880, so getting close to that $9 range. So there's some deals right here. That's them deals if you want to get them for less than $10 right now. I think that's pretty good. I feel like as long as I've been playing the game since the first chapter, Be Prepared has always felt like a more than $10 card. It's always been around 8, 9, or $10. So it's looking a little cheap today. I like to see that. Elsa, the fifth spirit. This card continues to surprise me, man. It comes out in the starter deck, but it's still very expensive. Lowest verified for a non-foil is $8.99. That's $9 right there, shipping included. And the cold foils are the same price, $8.99 as well, but that's the
No, no,
lowest
Kevin,
verified.
that was the cheapest copy.
Oh, that was the cheapest copy. Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, no, take off your cold foil listing and double look at that again.
Oh, you're right. That is the cheapest copy. So even the non-foils are just $10 already. Oh my gosh. Look at that, dude. 942 for a non-foil, 999 in-house games and $9. So this is like a $9 to $10 non-foil and cold foil now. Pretty cool, Zach. Pretty cool. This card's that important in the meta, right?
Excuse me, but yes, this is a very important card. The genies is a big reason why, but this card is also just very helpful in a lot of matchups for Amethyst decks. I know that this card just always has Cinderella on Cinderella as a target on its head no matter what. So after turn 5, sometimes I just start questing with Cindy even if I have no songs, just because it's gonna be banished anyway. But yeah, like it's interesting to see the cold foils are cheaper than the normals, and it's because you can get it guaranteed out of the starter deck. Seems to be the best starter deck, like um hanging its head high. So if you find any of those in your, out in the wild, as I say, it almost pays for itself just to buy it at MSRP.
Yeah, it's a really good starter deck. Even just seeing people play the decks from Shimmering Skies like against each other, the Emerald Steel versus the Ruby Amethyst. The Ruby Amethyst one kind of dominates. It has the Elsa, it has the Finders Keepers in there. So it just in general, it has like just really good cards if you want to show people how to play. But Pro Play Games has 297 cold foil Elsas for you at 950, which, like Zach said, is cheaper than the non-foil listing. So you guys might as well just buy the shiny versions. I don't see why you would pay more for the non-foil outside of it being harder to pull. I don't think it's that much probably harder to pull. Let's be real. And last but not least, Madam M Fox lowest verifieds are going to be $4. We have $3.99 by Pork Roll Gaming with $1.27 shipping. Shout out you guys, and then it stays around this $4 mark. So around $4 with an extra $1.27 with shipping from some verified sellers. So very close to $5 for your Madam Mim Foxes, and cold foils are still very expensive. Lowest verified is back up to $25.95 with $1.27 shipping by Goblin Town Gaming, so around $27 after shipping. Then Card Crack is our next verified, $27.99 shipping included. That's $28, but they have four of them for you. So if you want to spend around $100, or yeah, around $100 for your playset of cold foil Mim Foxes, you can get them all from one seller. That's pretty cool. And yeah, they stick around this $28 mark, not $30 yet, but they're getting up there. They're getting close to that price. I think Fox is just as important as Genie in purple text, right?
100%. And then this is just a card that's just helps check a lot of the other aggressive decks. And this is just a bounce card. And you get to replay your goats, your rabbits, you get extra lore, helps you trade well, replay some powerful effects, and um, I think it's just an overstated character. Again, this is a card that could see a hit on the ban list, but you never know. Like they might need it to help stabilize some other decks, but well overstated card, and very little drawback to playing this.
Well, that's going to be all for this week's Friday Market Watch. Thanks to my Lorcana Goons for sticking around and joining us. We hope you had an awesome holiday. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas from me and Zach. Hope you guys have an awesome New Year. We'll be here on Monday for the updated Monday Market Watch to see where any of these card prices go. I'm really curious to see what's going to happen with the first chapter booster boxes over the weekend. Let me know your opinions in the comments below. If there's any cards that we should talk about, please also let us know. Remember to stay tuned to Lurkana Goons, and we'll see you goons next time.